It's 1991. Nirvana is sitting in a wood-paneled boardroom at DGC Records. Lawyers are flipping through a stack of contracts that'll turn Kurt Cobain into a millionaire overnight. They're talking about recoupable expenses and points on the back end. On the other side of the table, Kurt isn't concerned about contracts or money. In fact, he spent the last 20 minutes meticulously drawing a small, shriveled alien onto the contract he's supposed to sign. To the suits, Kurt's just elsewhere. But he hasn't always been elsewhere. Throughout his life, Kurt is misunderstood. What looks like rude inattention is actually a symptom of something much larger. What is inattentiveness in one area is actually extreme hyperfocus in another. What seems like an impulsive decision is actually a way for an emotionally dysregulated mind to regulate itself. What looks like depression or an aloof artistic temperament is just as easily the effects of extreme sensitivity to rejection or even perceived rejection. Coupled together, these misunderstandings form the basic tenets of ADHD. By understanding the symptoms, we can understand the mind. And by understanding the mind, we might finally understand the man. According to many sources, Kurt is a happy kid with a loving smile who loves to sit and draw for hours with his mother. His early school teachers describe him as bright, engaged, even gifted. Then his parents divorce, and he begins changing bedrooms as frequently as other kids change their clothes. His mother's house one night, his father's the next. Then to his grandparents, sometimes a string of relatives' spare bedrooms. Somewhere in those years, Kurt invents an imaginary friend he calls Boda. In a life where nothing stays put, Boda always does. In the classroom, teachers watch a sweet, outgoing kid disappear, replaced by someone who can't, or won't, follow a lesson plan. Worried about her son's performance in school, his mother takes Kurt to a doctor who promptly diagnoses him with what was then simply called hyperactivity. Kurt is given Ritalin. His grades do not improve, and his mother decides to take him off of Ritalin. The diagnosis is filed away, and Kurt is expected to maintain his grades without assistance. When he's with his father, there are other expectations. He's expected to be tough and play sports. In high school, the jocks, the ones Kurt had been expected to become, are now the ones targeting him. Jocks see anyone not playing sports as beneath them socially, especially someone like Kurt, who prefers sitting for hours drawing, completely ignoring the social hierarchy being built around them. His grades suffer. His mother's patience runs out, and she eventually kicks him out of the house. It's little surprise then that Kurt drops out of high school just weeks before graduation. His time there has been rough. Picked on by bullies, ostracized by the cool kids, Kurt once again turns his attention to his own inner world. It's the mid-1980s, Olympia, Washington. Kurt Cobain lives with his girlfriend, Tracy Moronder. She works. Kurt does too, but his line of work is more open-ended. One night, after an 8-hour shift at a local bar, Tracy opens the apartment door. A bowl of cereal still sits on the floor, the milk now a translucent film. Kurt is nearby, buried in a nest of guitar strings, cigarette ash, and torn notebook scraps. He hasn't moved all day. He's been playing the same 4-chord loop for 6 hours straight. His fingers are blistered by the steel strings in endless repetition. But it's through endless repetition and sacrifice that Nirvana's breakthrough album, Nevermind, is born. For instance, for Nirvana's biggest song, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Kurt plays the opening riff for 90 minutes straight before anyone else joins in. Couple that with mastery that comes only after playing endless gigs over countless nights, and you have magic. Kurt reaches a state of being where songs are not so much as created as they are conjured. When he's playing, the world outside stops existing. In fact, Tracy can walk out that door right now and he won't even notice. Such sacrifices are the price Kurt pays to reach nirvana. Picture a gravel lot in Aberdeen, Washington. A group of teenagers stands around a rickety wooden ramp, daring each other to jump it. Most of them hesitate, but not Kurt. Before the dare is even finished, he's already pedaling. And as he launches himself into the air, he finds the danger exhilarating. It's 1990, Portland, Oregon. A club called the Satyricon. Kurt sees Courtney Love across the room and does what Kurt Cobain does. He crosses the room and wrestles her to the ground. It sounds absurd because it is absurd. For the first time in his life, his world has another person in it who understands him. By December, they're engaged. 2 months later, in February of 1992, they're married on a beach in Hawaii, and she is already pregnant with their child. The shows continue. That much is predictable. Everything else about them is not. One night, without warning, Kurt ends the show by destroying his guitar. The crowd goes insane because for the crowd, that's part of the appeal. They bought a ticket and then they got to go home. But the people around him didn't get to go home. Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl never know which version of Kurt is walking into the studio. The same Kurt that agrees to a long multi-city tour 1 minute becomes a different Kurt that cancels the tour the next. And when tours cancel at the last minute, the roadies, the crew, the sound engineers, people who turn down other work, who are counting on those dates, are left to absorb the consequences. Often, when things don't feel right, Kurt doesn't stay and adjust. He simply leaves. And when an entire album feels wrong, he doesn't compromise. He fires the producer and starts over. It's February 1993, Cannon Falls, Minnesota. Nirvana and producer Steve Albini are recording what will become In Utero. Inside the studio, the air is clinical. Albini wants perfection. Kurt wants feeling. During the session, the chronic stomach pain, a burning knot that doctors have examined and dismissed on multiple occasions, becomes impossible to ignore. What comes out of Kurt in that booth is emotional and physical pain vocalized. He screams until his vocal cords fray. When the song ends, he doesn't check the levels. He doesn't ask how it sounds. He walks out of the studio and doesn't come back for days, leaving everyone wondering, where did he go? Most of the time, Kurt goes to Courtney. By the time they find each other, both of them are already using. Kurt maintains that he uses heroin to ease his stomach pain. The reason Courtney starts using is harder to locate. By 1992, Courtney is becoming a story in her own right. Her band Hole is gaining momentum. She's loud, quotable, impossible to ignore. Exactly the kind of subject a profile writer dreams of. When Vanity Fair's Lynn Hirschberg comes calling, Courtney does what Courtney always does. She opens the door completely. She's candid in the way she's always been candid, operating under the assumption that if you hand someone everything, they have nothing left to weaponize. Hirschberg prints everything, warts and all. Courtney gives birth to Frances Bean in August of 1992. For 1 month, something in Kurt goes quiet. His domestic life looks as brilliant and bright as his professional one. It lasts 1 month. In September, Vanity Fair hits the stands. Hirschberg's article includes a claim that Courtney used heroin while pregnant with Frances Bean. Within days, Child Protective Services intervenes. She is passed between CPS worker, Courtney's sister, Kurt's mother, different arms, different rooms. different faces. Kurt knows exactly what it means to be that child. He had been that child, shuttled between bedrooms, absorbing the quiet lesson that no place was specifically, permanently his. He had survived it because he had his drawings. He had Boda. For Frances Bean, there is no Boda to protect her. The only silver lining to Courtney's ordeal with Vanity Fair is the wisdom it gives Kurt. When Kurt finally agrees to undergo the same in-depth interview, he makes sure it's with someone with a genuinely sympathetic ear. Michael Azerrad has already written a Rolling Stone cover story on Nirvana in 1992. By the time Azerrad proposes an in-depth book, Kurt already has direct experience of how Azerrad has handled him in print. He's also seen up close what the wrong journalist can do. The resulting piece, Come As You Are, is everything Courtney Love had hoped the Vanity Fair article about her would be. Azerrad treats the stomach pain as real and chronic, rather than psychosomatic. The heroine as connected to that pain, rather than simple hedonism. The cancelled shows is sensitivity, the fame-seeking alongside fame-hating. All the output of a fractured childhood, rather than rock star cliches. For the first time, someone has gotten it right in print. Kurt finally has control of his own narrative. It's September of 1993. In Utero is released. It's Kurt's most authentic work, the one he's betting will make him loved by the people he loves and hated by everyone else. Where Nevermind had been polished with corporate money and embraced by everyone he despised, the jocks, the suits, the people who had made high school unbearable, In Utero is the antithesis, raw, unpolished, and unapologetic. It debuts at number 1. Michael Azerrad's book, Come As You Are, had told his story accurately. In Utero had told the world exactly who he was, and neither change anything. It's January 1994. Another night, another city, the same set list. Sometimes he teases the appearance of variety by rearranging the songs into a different order. But they're still the same songs. They've been the same songs since October. Back in Seattle, Courtney picks up the phone. Frances Bean is on the floor nearby, pulling herself up against the furniture. She's a year and a half now, and she's starting to walk. Kurt isn't there to see any of it, and he still has 40 more shows left to go. By mid-February, his vocal cords are so damaged, sound barely escapes them. Doctors delivered their verdict plainly: severe bronchitis and acute laryngitis. Shows are canceled. He flies to Rome to recover. Courtney and Frances meet him there. It's March 4th, 1994. Room 606 of the Hotel Excelsior. Courtney Love wakes up to find Kurt on the floor, fully clothed and unresponsive. On the table sit dozens of empty pill casings and a multi-page note to the world. The press release will call it an accidental overdose. It's March 25th, 1994, the living room of his home on Lake Washington, where people who love him have gathered. He hears Courtney threaten to leave him and take Frances Bean with her. He hears his bandmates threatening to dissolve the band. He agrees to rehab just to placate them. Courtney also decides to undergo addiction therapy. In order to focus on their own individual sobriety, they decide to check into separate programs. Courtney checks herself into an outpatient detox program in Beverly Hills. Kurt checks into the Exodus Recovery Center in Marina del Rey. Later that day, Courtney brings Frances Bean to visit. Kurt spends the afternoon with his daughter the way any loving father would. The following day, Kurt calls Courtney and tells her that no matter what happens, he loves her. He encourages her, telling her her new album with Hole is really good. It's something to be proud of. Hours later, he scales a 6-foot wall, takes a taxi to LAX, and flies back to his home in Seattle. Kurt's disappearance sends Courtney into a panic. She leaves her outpatient treatment in Beverly Hills and checks herself into the Exodus Recovery Center, the same facility that had been treating her husband days prior. The remaining few days of Kurt Cobain's life are a farewell tour of Seattle. He wanders the city as anonymously as Kurt Cobain can wander any city. Nobody who sees him describes someone in crisis. They describe someone calm, settled, like a person who has just made a decision and is no longer fighting anything. He doesn't call his family. He doesn't call his friends. In fact, he doesn't call anybody, except his best friend, Dylan Carlson. He tells Dylan he needs a shotgun for protection. Dylan doesn't know the truth about Rome. To him, it's an accidental overdose. Still, when Kurt asks for the gun, Dylan hesitates. Kurt reassures his friend and Dylan hands it over, trusting his best friend knows what he's doing. It's raining on April 5th, 1994. He picks up a pen and begins to write. Not to his bandmates, not to Courtney, not even to Francis Bean. Kurt begins to write to his imaginary childhood friend, Boda. Kurt's body is found on April 8, 1994. 2 days later, a public memorial is held at Seattle Center. Courtney Love is unable to be there. Instead, a recording of her tearfully reading Kurt's note is played.
Music, but I still can't get out the frustration, the guilt, and the empathy I have for everybody. There's good in all of us, and I simply love people too much. So why didn't you just fucking stay?
7,000 people came to mourn someone who made them feel understood and not alone in the world. But did they truly understand Kurt? Or did they simply project their own need to be understood onto him? Perhaps the loneliest thing about Kurt Cobain's life wasn't the rejection. It was the adoration of millions of people who loved how he made them feel, but never truly saw the man who made it. When people understand your art, but not you, admiration can become its own kind of isolation. There's no one to challenge your fears. No one to tell you that you're wrong about yourself or that you're being too hard on yourself. No one to remind you that the way you feel today isn't necessarily the way you'll feel forever. And when you're that alone, the present moment can become everything. The pain in this moment, the rejection in this moment, the feeling that this is all there is and all there'll ever be. But if there's one lesson people with ADHD should take from Kurt Cobain's life, it may be this. The way you feel right now is not how you'll feel forever. Like many people with ADHD, Kurt seemed to live in an eternal present. The problem in front of him could feel permanent. The pain could feel permanent. But throughout his life, the future repeatedly surprised him. The lonely child became a musician, and the musician became a star. And then the star became a father. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of Kurt Cobain's life isn't just that he died young. It's that he died before he ever had a chance to discover what came next. Nor was he here to watch his daughter grow up. The man who repeatedly underestimated how much his future could change eventually lost faith that it could change again. But some lessons only reveal themselves with time. And time is the one thing Kurt Cobain never got enough of.